Good evening, I'm Topsy Cockney for TAMAPTA. Tonight we'll be talking to some of our children's educators. They will tell us about the education system and give us some advice and encourage our children throughout their school years. Everyone realizes now to have a good education means you will be successful in society today. For an evaluate, it's getting crucial to get a good, solid education. As Aboriginal people, we would like one day to run our own affairs. The school behind me is Sir Alexander Mackenzie School. It has the elementary students from kindergarten to grade 6. This is the Samuel Hearn Secondary School, and the grades here are junior high from 7, 8, and 9, and senior high of 10, 11, and 12. Will Cunder, who has lived in the north for the past 10 years, tells us what he remembers back to his first few years in the north.
I can remember back to my first years. Now, mind you, they were in much more isolated communities than Inuvik, but the vast majority of the parents who had kids in our school at that time had not been formally educated themselves beyond a couple of grades. It's a lot of fun now to watch the registration as parents bring their kids in for kindergarten. Very, very few of our parents now who bring their kids here to get them started in school haven't had a good, solid education themselves. Most of them have been to school. The majority of them have been to high school. A great many of them have graduated from there. So they've been through the system. We've kind of had that first generation of young adults who have good educations themselves and who understand that it's important. We spend a lot less time now talking to parents and convincing them that education's important. They know that it's important, and that gives us, principals in particular, I think, more time to do other kinds of things now. We don't have to spend as much time on that kind of thing.
Roy Mena, who lived in the north since 1973, says there has been a very slow improvement in the attitudes towards school.
In the minds of parents now and students, there is an urgency, more of an urgency in today's schools for students to attend. We still have a long way to go. Change in education happens over a very, very long period of time. It's not unreasonable in an educational setting to see 2 decades go by before a particular change actually is instilled in the minds and attitudes of people involved with education.
When attitude changes in the students, parents, and educators, this makes the education system work better. Both Mr. Cunder and Mr. Mena points out some of the improvements they've noticed.
Our attendance here at SAMS is terrific. We average around 92, 93% for the year. And those kids who aren't here, by and large, they're home because they're ill or they're on vacation with their parents or something. We have very, very few students who are truant or who are skipping classes. When we have parent-teacher interviews, the vast majority of our parents come in to talk with the staff about the kids. And that's a big reason why I think we're particularly successful here. Parents are in, they're playing an active part in their kids' education, they're finding out what may be weak areas. They're asking questions like, what can I do at home to help my son or daughter read better? And when you have all of those things working for you, when you have kids coming to school, when you have parents being interested and asking about school and being supportive of the school itself and the kids can't help but be successful. It just has to happen.
I think one of the major things that has happened recently is the movement by the minister to compulsory education legislation. In itself, it's not significant, but the attitude towards the statute and towards the legislation that has been accepted by the communities, I think that is a very significant thing. Our attendance rate is in approximately 90%. Now, you have to understand, we have 2 schools here. We have a junior high school, which offers schooling courses and curriculum to grade 7, 8, and 9 students. And of course, there are grade 7, 8, and 9 schools throughout this region. There's 10 or 11 other communities that have the same curriculum and the same kinds of problems. The unique thing about Samuel Hearn is that we also have the senior secondary school component, and they're in the same building. The junior high school runs at approximately 85 to 87% over a year, and the senior high school is somewhat better than that, so better than 90%. So it's I'm happy with the attendance. There are some students who are persistently truant, and those students are missing the boat. I mean, they and their parents should realize that they have to attend and be here and so on. I'd say 10 to 12 students in the community in the grade 7, 8, and 9 level that just aren't coming. It's very hard to deal with that because you need the parents' support in getting them here. And that's what I'm talking about attitude. I think young people in this community generally, and I think this is not unique to this community, but certainly it's present here, they respond to immediate rewards. You know, if you want a thrill, go and find it, and get it out of the way, and then you can chalk that up in your memory. Schooling isn't like that. You don't get immediate rewards. You have to work for 3 months, 4 months on a course, and then you have to work very hard, and it has to be constant and regular practice and review of the works assignments that are assigned by teachers. And then at the end, they've developed this joy for the learning, and it becomes more intrinsic and exciting in that way. That's not valued by many students.
What are some of the advice these educators have for parents on how they can be helpful to encourage their children in school? Pauline Gordon has been a grade 2 teacher for the past 6 years. She says she would encourage parents to read to their child at a very early age.
The child always needs practice in reading. It doesn't matter whether they're a good reader or, you know, poor reader. But one of the things that parents don't realize is that if they start reading to their child at a very early age, their child will probably be a very good reader. I mean, studies have shown. So I would encourage parents to read to their child as early as possible.
Billy Alikak, who is a Human Resource Education Training Advisor for the Inuvald Regional Corporation, says communication between parents, teachers, and students is important.
I think the biggest thing that I've noticed since I've been up here and since I've been with the Regional Corporation is communication. Communication really seems to break down between the students, between the parents, between the teachers or the educators. And if we can create some form of communication that's easygoing and easy-flowing within the 3 parties involved there, we might have a better success.
Mr. Kunder's first and foremost advice is to get attendance even better. That is, to make sure your children are at school.
The other thing is to get parents to the point where they're asking questions about their kids, about what they're doing at school during the day. Asking them, you know, what did you do in math today? What did you learn in social studies? And if parents show the kids that, hey, well, I'm interested in what you're learning at school, that's giving a really powerful message to children that education's important, I want you to get a good education, and I'm behind you in getting that. Making sure that that homework gets finished.
Mr. Mena makes a distinction between schooling and education. He says parents are educating their children every day, just being in contact with them. He points out the school's job is to teach your children particular subjects, such as language arts, mathematics, and sciences. He finds the biggest problem is parents.
And this is what I would tell parents. If they wish their children to be successful in the normal course of the development economically and socially in a community, then they must force their young people to be in school to gain that formal education experience, schooling. The northern people and adults and so on are just beginning to realize that this has to be the case if the true value of schooling is to be realized by everybody involved. So that's what I would say to parents. Read at home with your young people, and provide a completely safe and unencumbered sort of environment for those young people to study at a particular time. Not from grade 4 or 3 or 2, but by the time they reach grade 6, 7, 8, and 9, they should be establishing patterns in their daily routines, which are free from television sets and telephones and the refrigerator and all of those kinds of things that, even a radio, I think it's very unwise to leave a radio blaring away when a student is trying to get his mind wrapped around a particular concept that's been taught in school that day.
What are the biggest problems they still have in schools? I put forth this question to Mr. Kunder for the elementary level, kindergarten to grade 6, but he says there was no real major problems. When I asked Mr. Mena for the high school from grade 7 to 12, he said some were truancy, the behavior problems with mostly the junior high students, and another were students who have very, very serious family problems and difficulty in their own personal lives. But what was the biggest problem he found?
The biggest problem is a pervasive attitude amongst the students of just doing the bare minimum. It's very, very dangerous in society today, in the broadest sense, not the northern context alone, but in the Canadian context, to be satisfied with the minimum requirement of a particular course. But what they don't realize is that if they do that and they get an average of 50 to 55%, they've got their high school diploma, and that's great. But when they go looking for another opportunity, they find that they're in competition with, in a college or whatever, they're in competition with students who have a little different attitude, and that is to get better than 50, 55%. What's really tragic when you meet many, many young people in schools who are quite happy just sitting there and waiting for the social promotion to be moved ahead because they're a certain age, and they haven't actually accomplished the objectives of the curriculum.
We would like to see changes in education happening in our schools, if it is needed and if it is of benefit to our children. Both Mr. Kunder and Mr. Mena were principals for the past 3 years at our 2 Inuvik schools. They tell us some of the changes that have happened.
What's happened over the last number of years is a move towards what we call a whole language approach to reading. And what teachers do now is they get children talking about things that are of interest to them. They get them talking about their family, their community, things of interest to them. And rather than having them reading about things that are happening to other kids, they begin writing their own books, writing their own stories, writing their own poetry about themselves and their community. Much, much closer to what I think is best for kids. It's a big, big change, and it's coming slowly. I'm very proud of the improvements in our Inuvialuktun program, and I think that that's going to be a major strong program in our school. The introduction of our science program 2 years ago. We now have a group of kids who are excited about science. I think a lot of kids just really turned on to science. That's tremendous. That's hopefully going to carry on when they leave here and go to the high school. Kids in the past, particularly Native kids, have not tended to have strength or interest in the science area. Hopefully we've changed that.
The Inuvik Education Society and the Inuvik Regional Education Committee to have a semestered school. Now, it's taken 3 years to establish in the thinking of everyone involved with the school the idea of a semestered system. Previous to my arrival, there was a 3-year period, I think, 3 or 4 years, in which the school was timetabled in all year courses. I think there was an attempt prior to my arrival in putting together an alternative program. Since my time here, we've been very fortunate in having a couple of teachers, Bill Warren and Gary Elliott, who've been involved in the SPP program, the Senior Practical Program in Home Maintenance, and to administratively put that together and again, think about the long-term consequences of certain decisions when you're beginning a program. And we've established a music program in the school here and support for the art and so on, and also in community events, gradually beginning to get students involved in in artistic events, performing arts events in the community. So those are a few things. I'm very proud of this school. I think it offers a range of service in schooling that would be matched or surpasses any other school in the territories. So
culture shouldn't be brought into education, that education should be brought into the culture.
That was the theme at the International Conference on Indigenous Peoples Education held in Vancouver early this year. Mrs. Gordon attended that conference. These are some of her ideas that should happen in education.
First, I think maybe some kind of workshops for the teachers who are from the South, who are, you know, I'm not knocking Southern teachers, I'm just saying, you know, a lot of them are really fine teachers. It's just that I think that they require a bit more training on the culture in this area. I'm not saying that some of them aren't trying, because there are a lot of them that do try to bring the culture into the school. Other things that could probably happen is if the community were to get a little bit more involved too, I think, you know, we could get the response sometimes that we request. You know, like for having elders in and that type of thing. Sometimes it becomes pretty difficult to get somebody in and teach things to the kids.
Elders coming in here to show them their dances and songs and stories. What sort of response did you get from your children?
Oh, my kids loved to dance. They were so excited. And I can tell you though, in September I had, you know, half my class, 3/4 of my class is boys. So they tend to be a little bit more shy. So in September when they came in, they were a little bit leery about trying new things. And whenever we do the dance, even just last Saturday when they were invited to dance at the talent show, we were practicing in here, and like they didn't want to sit down and work afterwards. Like they're so, they really enjoy that type of thing.
How far have we come in teaching the culture of this region in our schools?
You know, we've gone from a stage where people came in and taught their own culture to a stage now where you have, I'm not going to say a great number of people that teach, you know, the culture to the kids, but you have a fair number. So we've gone from ignoring our culture to a phase where now people are starting to say, you know, it's very important that we teach the culture of the students that are here. But on the other hand, too, I think you also have to teach a little bit of the cultures that are of the dominant society, which is Caucasian. And you can teach that, you know, and I do a lot of other things, like we did the muskrat hunting, and they had to read their stories once they had read them, once they had written them. So they're exposed to not only the culture from the South, the dominant society, but they're also exposed to their own culture. So you have a two, and I think it balances out.
One of the reasons why I talked with Mr. Alikuk is he works on Section 16 of the Inuvialuit land claims. That section is to get Inuvialuit involved as much as possible in a northern Canadian economy. In order for that to work is to start with education and training of Inuvialuits. How does he begin?
Giving small presentations through the high schools at Samuel Hearn, and also Sir Alexander Mackenzie, and also the other 6 communities that are within our regional corporation's jurisdiction. The most important thing, I guess, that I try and stress on is the importance of education, and how that once you begin at the primary level and to complete the secondary level and then go on to a college or a university, but to carry on that education, not to go to grade 12 and to stop there, but to carry on from grade 12. The Development Corporation, the Inuvialuit Development Corporation, have awarded already two scholarships in business administration and commerce, and also the Inuvialuit Social Development Fund have awarded 2 scholarships in arts and sciences. we hope that this is only the beginning of a trend.
Native language in schools. Is it important, and do the children enjoy it?
It comes out in little things that we do. For instance, one child in my class was watching someone skin a caribou, and he just said, "I know what that is. It's a dut-tu." I mean, things like that. Like if they were ashamed of the language, they wouldn't be so willing to speak it. And I find, you know, if I say something in Inveralton, they want to know what it means or something. So they're not ashamed of it. I think they enjoy it.
I see a tremendous need for our system to get our native language programs working successfully, not only from K to 6, which we're trying to do here at SAMS, but all the way from K to 12, so that we have young adults coming out of high school who have developed strength in their own native language, who can then, if they want to go on into teaching, tremendous. We don't have to, the teacher education program then doesn't have to spend time building strength in language, you know. Hopefully they'll have it. So that's an area I think that there's still a lot of work to be done in. And it takes time. If you look at our language program here at SAMS, what we've attempted to do is add a year of curriculum each year. We're to the point now where we have a program running to grade 4. It's our hope next year that we'll be able to add grade 5. So that's kind of a slow process. But what we have got is a group of kids now who 4 years ago, went into the program and have had almost daily native language instruction. Now, if we can keep giving them programs right through to the end of their high school, those kids should, I think, be coming out with strength.
You know, there's definitely a movement towards what you're suggesting, and that is to incorporate language instruction in the high school level. There's no question about that. The Deputy Minister indicates that for financial reasons and curriculum support reasons, it's very difficult to go beyond grade 6 in actual formal classroom instruction in Inuktitut or Slavey or Lushu or a particular dialect.
Many natives are becoming teachers. They mainly teach at the elementary level. Mr. Kunder says they have been very strong, successful teachers, and that's a big plus for the school.
I get a little concerned about the idea of native teachers for the sake of native teachers. I guess it's just because of the number of years that I've been in the North. My concern is first and foremost for a good, strong teacher. I don't think about the kids in my school as native kids or non-native kids. They're all our kids, you know. There's 380 kids out there. I don't think about my teaching staff as 5 native teachers and 20 non-native teachers. They're all teachers, and I would hope that they're the best. Given the choice of 2 strong teachers, I would certainly want the native one. I think the changes to the teacher education program that are in place now are going to ensure that the people who come out of that program are going to be strong teachers who are going to be able to step right into a classroom and assume control.
What are some of the advantages in having native teachers?
Well, I think the greatest advantage is that you can never really teach someone else your own culture. Like, it doesn't matter how many courses or how many degrees they have behind their name. In you know, that culture, if they come up and say, well, I took a course on Inuit, but that doesn't make them an expert. Like, you can never, ever really truly know a culture unless you've lived it.
I asked Mr. Kunder and Mr. Mena if they feel native children have a different way of learning.
This is an interesting area, and it's one where there's a little bit of research going on now in the department to look at learning styles. And I think what they're going to find is that even amongst Dene and Inuit people, there's a big difference there too. So, you know, we have such a mixed bag of kids here. Teachers are constantly being challenged to find different ways of reaching kids, you know. So the answer to your question would be yes. I think there are different learning styles, but again, all kids learn differently. So it's a real challenge for people in education to find the right fix for each individual kid.
I think that because of the second language problem, the linguistic and mathematical things are not what the native students, they're more, they must have a perceptual and visual and concrete example to work with. Most. Now, these are very general comments. That isn't to say that there aren't Native people who are very good linguistically. Not at all. But as a general sort of theme, in human nature, I believe there are more than one kinds of ways of interpreting. There's more than one kind of way of interpreting intelligence. I'm convinced of that. There are people, Native people, who are exceptionally good hunters. I'm not. It's because I haven't been exposed to it, and I haven't learned those skills and extended my intelligence in that area of dealing with the land and all of that sort of thing. But Native people have.
Regardless of what you want to do in life, you have to have an education.
When you're an older teenager, you've got everything you need then to make a decision. If you want to go on in school and finish high school and go on to college or university, you've got the skills to do that. If you want to work in a trades area, great, you've got the background that you need to do that. And if you've got the desire to work and live on the land primarily, okay, you're going to have the skills needed to earn a living that will supplement that. So it's just critically important now for kids to get to school and to get a good education.
My name is Marie Malagana, and I'm from Aklavik, Northwest Territories.
And just tell us how you feel right now for graduating.
I feel overjoyed. I'm happy it's over, but in a way I'm sort of sad to leave, where all your friends are. So, but it's a happy occasion, and it's a memorable one.
Would you say education's very important?
Yes, it's important nowadays. So it's good for them to just go for it and graduate.
What sort of advice would you give them?
Just keep on going. Well, for the parents is to get your students to school. That's a good advice. And keep them in school.
I guess a perfect student is a young person who really senses the value of the joy of learning. In a nutshell, that's what a perfect student is. And with the same fervor that many young people in our schools today watch television or chum around downtown late at night with their friends. I mean, they do that with great fervor and with great commitment and so on. If that commitment was there in their studies, then these students would soar academically, and they'd be just fine. But there are many that don't have that attitude right now.